The conference room aboard the Vrexian flagship was massive. Its walls were made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Hundreds of alien officers stood in perfect rows, their purple armor gleaming under the harsh overhead lights. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Jiwan, a human woman in a simple gray suit. She looked small compared to the towering Vrexian warriors around her. Jiwan held a data tablet in her hands. Her fingers were steady, but her heart was beating fast. She had traveled 3 months through space to reach this meeting. Earth had sent her with one mission: prevent a war. The document on her tablet contained Earth's peace proposal. It offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. Everything was designed to build friendship between humanity and the Vrexian Empire. Supreme Commander Taiyang sat on a throne-like chair at the far end of the room. He was enormous, even for a Vrexian. His forearms were crossed over his chest. His face had sharp angles, and his eyes glowed with a dim red light. Behind him stood dozens of military advisors, each one decorated with medals and battle honors. Jiwan stepped forward. The sound of her shoes on the metal floor echoed in the silent room. She reached the center and stopped. She looked up at Taiyang and spoke clearly. "Supreme Commander, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Earth extends its hand in friendship. We believe our two civilizations can benefit greatly from cooperation rather than conflict." Taiyang said nothing. He simply stared at her with those glowing eyes. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Jiwan continued. "We understand that the Vrexian Empire is concerned about our expansion into the outer territories. We want to assure you that Earth has no hostile intentions. The colonies we have established are purely for research and resource gathering. We are willing to share any findings with your empire." One of Taiyang's advisors leaned forward and whispered something in his ear. The Supreme Commander's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. It was not a friendly expression. "Ambassador Jiwan," Taiyang's voice boomed through the chamber. It was deep and carried an undertone of amusement. "Your words are interesting. Earth offers friendship. Earth offers cooperation. But tell me, what does Earth offer that we cannot simply take?" Jiwan felt a chill run down her spine. She had been briefed on this possibility. Earth's military command had warned her that the Vrexians might not respond to diplomatic overtures. They were a warrior culture. They respected strength above all else. "Supreme Commander, we offer partnership as equals. War between our peoples would be costly for both sides. Earth has significant defensive capabilities. We would prefer to avoid demonstrating them." This time Taiyang did laugh. It was a harsh barking sound that was picked up by his officers. Soon the entire room was filled with alien laughter. Jiwan stood silently, waiting for it to die down. Her face remained calm, but inside she was calculating. She was running through all the scenarios her training had prepared her for. Taiyang stood up from his throne. He was at least 3 meters tall. He walked down the steps toward Jiwan, his heavy boots making the floor vibrate with each step. He stopped just a few meters away from her. "Defensive capabilities," he repeated, still chuckling. "Little human, do you know how many worlds the Vrexian Empire has conquered? Do you know how many species have stood before me and made similar claims?" Jiwan met his gaze steadily. "I am aware of your military history, Supreme Commander. That is precisely why Earth wishes to avoid conflict. We have studied your campaigns. We know you are formidable warriors." "Formidable?" Taiyang's voice dropped to a low growl. "We are not formidable. We are unstoppable. For 3,000 years, no species has successfully resisted the Vrexian Empire. Your people are newcomers to this galaxy. You have been here for what, 50 years? You have built a few small colonies on worthless rocks, and you think this gives you the right to negotiate with us as equals?" Jiwan opened her mouth to respond, but Taiyang raised one of his massive hands to silence her. "I have reviewed your species, human. Your world is weak. Your people are soft. You have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. You are slow and fragile. The only reason you survived on your death world is luck, and now you come before me offering peace as if you have any choice in the matter." The ambassador chose her next words carefully. "Supreme Commander, Earth's leadership instructed me to inform you that our restraint should not be mistaken for inability. We have been careful in our interactions with other species. We have deliberately limited our responses to provocations. This is not weakness. This is policy." More laughter filled the room. Taiyang turned to his advisors, speaking in his own language. They responded enthusiastically, their voices excited. When he turned back to Jiwan, his expression had changed. The amusement was gone, replaced by cold calculation. Your restraint is noted, Ambassador. Here is my response to your peace proposal. He pressed a button on his wrist device. Immediately, a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a star map of the local sector. Several human colony worlds were marked with red targeting symbols. These are your outer colonies. Within the next standard cycle, Vrexian forces will occupy them. Your people will have the opportunity to evacuate or submit to our authority. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy warning, which is more than most species receive. Jiwan's face remained composed, but her mind was racing. This was the worst-case scenario. She had one final card to play. One last warning she had been authorized to deliver only if all other options failed. Supreme Commander Taeyang, I must formally protest this decision. More importantly, I must warn you one final time. Earth's military has been operating under strict engagement protocols. We have been explicitly ordered not to demonstrate our full capabilities to avoid causing alarm among other species. If you attack our colonies, those protocols will be lifted. Please reconsider. Taeyang leaned down until his face was level with Jiwon's. His breath smelled like sulfur. Little human, your warnings mean nothing. Your protocols mean nothing. In 7 days, your colonies will belong to the Vrexian Empire. You should return to your homeworld and tell your leaders to prepare for their new reality. The age of human independence is over before it truly began. Jiwon stood perfectly still for a moment. Then she carefully placed her data tablet on the floor between them. It was a symbolic gesture, one that Taeyang's advisors would understand. She was officially terminating negotiations. Then I have nothing more to say, Supreme Commander. I will convey your decision to Earth. I hope you do not come to regret this choice. She turned and walked toward the exit. The Vrexian officers parted to let her pass. Nobody stopped her. Nobody spoke. They simply watched as the small human woman left their flagship. As the airlock sealed behind her and she returned to her own small shuttle, Jiwon finally allowed herself to show emotion. Her hands were shaking as she activated the communication system. The encryption protocols engaged and she sent a coded message back to Earth. It was short, just 3 words that military command had been dreading. Option declined, proceed. 7 light-years away, in the command center beneath Earth's surface, Fleet Admiral Hana received the message. She looked at the officers around her and nodded slowly. She pressed a button on her console and spoke into the microphone. All units, this is Fleet Command. Authorization code Alpha Omega 7. Diplomatic restrictions are hereby lifted. Repeat, diplomatic restrictions are lifted. Prepare to engage under full combat protocols. Across human space, military bases that had been quiet for decades suddenly came alive. Warships that had been hidden in asteroid fields powered up their main systems. Orbital defense platforms that tourists thought were research stations revealed their true nature. And in the training facilities on Mars, soldiers who had been practicing with deliberately limited equipment finally received clearance to use their actual weapons. The Vrexian Empire had made its choice. Now Earth would show them what politeness had been hiding. Captain Minho sat in the command chair of the EDS Horizon. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of various systems. His crew worked at their stations with focused efficiency. They had been waiting in this asteroid field for 6 days, engines powered down to minimal levels, hiding from Vrexian scouts that passed through the sector regularly. The Horizon was a frigate, small compared to the massive Vrexian dreadnoughts. To any outside observer, it looked like a simple patrol vessel. The hull was plain gray metal with no intimidating weapons visible on its surface. The Vrexians had scanned dozens of ships like this one and dismissed them as insignificant. That was exactly what Earth had wanted them to think. Minho was reading through his updated orders when his communications officer spoke up. Her name was Yunji, and she had been with him for 3 years. Captain, we're receiving the authorization code. It's confirmed. Diplomatic restrictions have been lifted. Minho felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief, certainly. They had been holding back for so long that it had become frustrating. But also concern. What they were about to do would change everything. The galaxy would see humanity differently after today. Acknowledged. Send confirmation to Fleet Command. Then begin the awakening sequence. Yunji's fingers moved across her console. Sending confirmation now. Initiating awakening sequence. Throughout the ship, systems that had been dormant suddenly came online. The lights on the bridge brightened. Minho felt a deep vibration through the deck plates as the main reactor increased power output. What had been running at 15% capacity was now reaching full power. His weapons officer, a young man named Junho, looked up from his station with barely contained excitement. "Captain, all weapon systems are responding. The targeting computers are online. Point defense grids are active. Main cannons are charging." Minho nodded. "Good. Helm, plot an intercept course for the Vrexian fleet. They should be reaching Colony 7 in approximately 4 hours." The helmsman, an older woman named Soman, looked back at him with surprise. "Sir, the Vrexian fleet has 47 warships. We're one frigate," Minho smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "We're not just one frigate anymore, Soman. Check your updated tactical display." Soman turned back to her console. Her eyes widened as new information flooded her screen. All around them, hidden throughout the asteroid field, other human ships were powering up. Their stealth systems were disengaging. There were cruisers, destroyers, and even 2 carriers that had been hiding behind large asteroids. In total, 38 human warships were revealing themselves. But that was not the most shocking part. Each ship's specifications were different now. The weapons ratings were 10 times higher than what their training manuals had listed. The shield strength was doubled. The engine output was showing numbers that should have been impossible for vessels of their size. "Captain, these readings must be wrong," Soman said quietly. "These power levels would tear our ships apart." "Those were the false readings we gave to other species," Minho explained. "Command didn't want anyone to know our real capabilities. The specifications you trained with were deliberately limited. What you're seeing now is what our ships were actually built to do." Junho spoke up again, his voice shaking slightly. "Sir, I'm looking at the weapons inventory. We have plasma cannons that were labeled as mining equipment. We have missile systems that were hidden inside cargo bays. The point defense guns are actually anti-ship weapons. Captain, the Horizon could probably fight 3 Vrexian cruisers by itself." "Probably closer to 5, Minho said calmly. "But we won't need to. We have the entire task force. Now all ships, this is Captain Minho. Form up on my position. We're going to show the Vrexians what polite really means." The human fleet began to move. They accelerated out of the asteroid field with a grace that their supposed engine specifications should not have allowed. Within minutes, they were traveling at speeds that made Somin gasp. The inertial dampeners were working perfectly, keeping the crew comfortable despite the extreme acceleration. 4 hours later, they arrived at Colony 7. The Vrexian fleet was already there, arranged in their standard attack formation. The colony itself was a cluster of domes on a small moon orbiting a gas giant. Approximately 8,000 human civilians lived and worked there, mostly scientists and their families. The Vrexians had sent a surrender demand 2 hours earlier. The colony administrator, following protocol, had requested more time to evacuate. The Vrexians had given them 1 hour. That hour was almost up. Minho studied the tactical display. The Vrexian fleet was impressive by galactic standards. Their flagship was enormous, bristling with weapons. The escort ships were positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire. It was a formation designed to overwhelm any defender through sheer firepower. Against the military capabilities that the Vrexians knew about, it would have worked. Against what they were about to face, it was inadequate. "Communications, open a channel to the Vrexian flagship." "Let's be polite one more time." Yunji worked her console. "Channel open, Captain. Vrexian fleet, this is Captain Minho of the Earth defense ship Horizon. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. This is your only warning." There was a pause. Then the main view screen activated, showing a Vrexian commander. He was smaller than Taeyang, but still intimidating, with dark red skin and sharp teeth visible when he spoke. "Human vessel, you are outnumbered and outgunned. We count 38 ships in your fleet against our 47. You should retreat while you still can. This colony is now property of the Vrexian Empire." Minho leaned back in his chair. "I appreciate your concern, but I'm afraid you've made some incorrect assumptions." "Tactical officer, remove the safety limiters." Junho pressed several commands on his console. Throughout the human fleet, the last restrictions were lifted. The ships began to glow with energy as their full power output became visible. The shields activated at their true strength, creating visible distortions in space around each vessel. On the Vrexian flagship, alarms started blaring. Their sensors were suddenly showing energy readings that didn't make sense. The human ships had just tripled their apparent power output. That should have been impossible. The Vrexian commander's expression changed from arrogance to confusion. What is this? Your ships cannot generate this much power. Your intelligence reports were based on information we allowed you to have. Minho interrupted. For 50 years, humanity has been operating under diplomatic restrictions. We deliberately limited our technology demonstrations. We used only a fraction of our weapons capability. We showed you what we wanted you to see. This was done to avoid frightening the galactic community. We wanted to be good neighbors. He paused, letting that sink in. But you attacked us. You dismissed our warnings. You mistook our restraint for weakness. That was your mistake. The Vrexian commander was receiving reports from his own officers now. His face was turning a darker shade of red. You are bluffing. Even with increased power output, you cannot defeat this fleet. I suppose we'll find out, Minho said softly. I'm giving you one last chance to withdraw. Leave this system now and no shots will be fired. Stay, and you will learn why Earth became the dominant species on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. The view screen went dark as the Vrexian commander cut the connection. On the tactical display, the Vrexian fleet began to advance. Their weapons were charging. They were calling humanity's bluff. Minho sighed. All ships weapons free. Target their propulsion systems first. I want prisoners who can report back what happened here. Show them exactly what we've been holding back. The battle began in silence, as all space battles do. The human ships moved with impossible speed and precision. Their weapons fired with accuracy that shocked the Vrexian gunners. Plasma beams that should have missed by meters instead found their targets with perfect precision. Missiles that the Vrexians tried to intercept simply maneuvered around the defensive fire as if they were intelligent. Within the first 30 seconds, 5 Vrexian ships had their engines destroyed. They tumbled helplessly in space, unable to maneuver. The human fleet danced between the enemy ships, their movements coordinated by tactical computers that processed information faster than any Vrexian system could match. Aboard the Horizon, Junho was almost laughing with disbelief. Captain, their shields aren't even slowing down our weapons. Our targeting systems are finding weak points automatically. It's like shooting practice targets. That's because we've been studying Vrexian shield technology for years, Minho replied. We know exactly where the vulnerabilities are. We've just never exploited them before. The battle that the Vrexians expected to last hours was over in 17 minutes. Not a single human ship was seriously damaged. 42 Vrexian vessels were disabled, their crews alive but their ships powerless. The remaining 5 had managed to escape into faster-than-light travel, running back toward Vrexian space. Minho looked at the tactical display, feeling no satisfaction in the victory. This was not a cause for celebration. This was humanity showing its teeth to a galaxy that had assumed they had none. Yunji, send a message to Fleet Command. Battle concluded with total victory. No friendly casualties. Requesting orders for prisoners and disabled vessels. As the message was transmitted, Minho stood up. Colonel Doyen checked his armor seals one more time. The green lights on his helmet display confirmed that everything was secure. Around him in the dropship, 40 other soldiers were doing the same thing. They were the First Response Battalion, Earth's most experienced ground combat unit. For years, they had trained in secret, their true capabilities hidden from the rest of the galaxy. The dropship shook as it entered the atmosphere of Vrexian Prime, the Empire's capital world. Through the small windows, Doyen could see dozens of other dropships falling alongside them like metal rain. The Vrexians had made a terrible mistake after their fleet defeat at Colony 7. Instead of accepting peace terms, they had doubled down. They had launched attacks on 3 more human colonies. Earth's response was swift and absolute. If the Vrexians wanted war, they would get war, but it would be fought on Vrexian soil. 2 minutes to landing, the pilot announced over the intercom. Her voice was calm despite the anti-aircraft fire exploding around them. The dropship's shields absorbed the impacts easily. Vrexian weapons technology was centuries behind what humanity had secretly developed. Doyen opened a channel to his squad leaders. Listen up. Rules of engagement are clear. We disable military targets only. No civilian casualties. The Vrexians think we're monsters, but we're going to show them what discipline actually looks like. Understood? A chorus of acknowledgments came back. Doyen felt proud of his soldiers. They had every reason to be angry after the Vrexian attacks, but they remained professional. That was what separated humanity from species who relied purely on aggression. The dropship hit the ground hard. The rear ramp dropped open and Doyen led his team out into the Vrexian capital. They were in a military district surrounded by barracks and command centers. Vrexian soldiers were already rushing out to meet them, their purple armor gleaming in the sunlight of their red sun. What happened next would become legendary in galactic military history. The Vrexians charged forward with their traditional tactics. They relied on their superior size and strength, believing that close combat would favor them. They had studied human anatomy and knew that humans were physically weaker than most warrior species. They had no idea what they were about to face. Doyen moved forward to meet the first group of Vrexian soldiers. There were 6 of them, each one twice his size. They swung their massive blade weapons with confidence. Doyen simply stepped aside from the first strike, his enhanced reflexes making the attack seem slow. He grabbed the Vrexian's arm and used the alien's own momentum to throw him to the ground. The impact cracked the pavement. His squad mate Nari was right behind him. She was small even by human standards, barely reaching the chest of the Vrexian warrior facing her. The alien laughed and swung his weapon down in what should have been a killing blow. Nari caught the blade with her armored hand. The metal squealed but didn't break through. She twisted her wrist and the weapon shattered. Then she struck the Vrexian in the center of his chest with her palm. The alien flew backward 3 meters and didn't get up. All around the landing zone, similar scenes were playing out. Human soldiers were moving through Vrexian defenders like water flowing around rocks. Every movement was efficient. Every strike was precise. There was no wasted energy, no unnecessary violence. A Vrexian commander was shouting orders to his troops, trying to organize a proper defense. Doyen could understand the alien language through his helmet translator. The commander was calling for heavy weapons, for artillery support. He couldn't understand why his soldiers were losing. Doyen approached the commander directly. The Vrexian was huge, covered in decorations and medals. He drew a ceremonial sword that looked like it could cut through a tree. "Human, you dare challenge me directly? I am Commander Vrex, victor of 50 battles." Doyen stopped a few meters away and raised his hands peacefully. "Commander Vrex, I am Colonel Doyen of Earth Defense Forces. I'm here to offer you a choice. Surrender your forces and no one else needs to be hurt. We have no desire to kill your soldiers." Vrex roared with fury. "Surrender? To you, never. The Vrexian Empire does not surrender to inferior species." He charged forward, sword raised high. Doyen sighed. He really had hoped to avoid this. He waited until the last possible second, then moved. His hand shot out and grabbed Vrex's sword arm. His other hand struck the commander's elbow joint. There was a crunching sound and Vrex screamed. The sword fell from his suddenly useless hand. Doyen caught the sword before it hit the ground. He looked at it for a moment, then drove it point first into the pavement beside Vrex's head. The massive blade sank into the stone like it was soft clay. "I said surrender, Commander. I won't ask again." Vrex looked up at the human standing over him. His arm was broken. His sword was gone. All around him, his elite soldiers were being systematically defeated by warriors half their size. The impossible was happening. The mighty Vrexian Empire was losing a ground battle on their own homeworld. "How?" Vrex gasped. "How are you doing this? You are weak. You have no natural weapons. You should not be able to defeat us." Doyen knelt down beside the fallen commander. When he spoke, his voice was not cruel but almost sad. "You made the same mistake everyone makes about humans, Commander. You looked at our bodies and assumed we were weak, but you didn't study our history. You didn't ask why we survived on Earth." He gestured around at the battlefield. "Our world was trying to kill us for millions of years. We had no claws, no venom, no armor. So do you know what we did? We became better. We learned to hunt animals bigger and stronger than us. We learned to fight each other in wars that lasted generations. We made weapons from rocks and sticks, then iron and steel, then things that could destroy cities." Doyen stood up. "We are not strong because of our bodies, Commander. We are strong because our planet forced us to become the most adaptable, most persistent, most dangerous predator in our ecosystem. And then we became civilized. We learned to control that violence, to use it only when necessary. That control, that restraint is not weakness. It's the most difficult strength there is." Around them, the battle was ending. The Vrexian forces were surrendering in groups. Human medics were already moving among the wounded, treating both human and Vrexian casualties with the same care. This was another shock to the Vrexians. In their culture, defeated warriors were often left to die, but the humans were saving their enemies. Nari approached and saluted. Colonel, we've secured the military district. Casualty report shows 15 humans with minor injuries, nothing serious. Vrexian casualties are approximately 300 injured, 20 dead. Those deaths were unavoidable, sir. They wouldn't stop attacking. Doyen nodded gravely. Every death weighed on him, even enemy deaths. Understood. Begin processing prisoners. Make sure they're treated well. Get medical attention for anyone who needs it. He looked down at Commander Vrex. You're going to survive this, Commander. You're going to go back to your people and tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth offered peace and you chose war. Tell them that we won this battle while trying not to kill you. Make sure they understand what that means. Vrex stared up at him with something like horror in his eyes. You could have killed us all. Yes, Doyen agreed quietly. We could have. We have weapons that could have turned this entire city to glass from orbit. We could have sent machines instead of soldiers. We could have done many things. But we didn't. Do you understand why? Vrex slowly shook his head. Because we remember what it's like to be on the losing side of a war. We remember what it's like when stronger powers show no mercy. We learned over thousands of years of our own bloody history that true strength isn't about how much destruction you can cause. It's about how much destruction you can prevent while still winning. Doyen turned away and began coordinating with his other units. Across the planet, similar battles were concluding with similar results. Human forces were achieving their objectives with minimal casualties on both sides. Every engagement was controlled. Every action was measured. In orbit above the planet, Admiral Hana was receiving reports from all ground teams. She sat in her command chair aboard the EDS Titan, Earth's newest battleship, and allowed herself a small smile. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Her communications officer spoke up. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Supreme Commander Tae Yang. He's requesting a ceasefire. Hana's smile faded. Put him through. The view screen activated. Tae Yang looked different than he had during Ji-Won's visit. His armor was scorched. His face was drawn with exhaustion. Behind him, his command center was in chaos. Admiral Hana, he said, his voice no longer booming with confidence. I am authorized to discuss terms of surrender. Hana leaned forward. 3 days ago, you could have had peace on generous terms, Supreme Commander. Now the price is higher, but I'm listening. As they began negotiations, Doyen was down on the surface, watching his soldiers help Vrexian medics treat the wounded. One of his young soldiers, a private named Hyejin, was sharing her water with a Vrexian who had tried to kill her 20 minutes earlier. The alien looked confused by this kindness. This was humanity's real weapon, Doyen thought. Not their technology or their training. It was their ability to remain human even in the midst of war. To remember and walk to. The Galactic Council chamber was built to inspire awe. It was a massive sphere floating in space, held in place by ancient technology that nobody truly understood anymore. Inside, representatives from 200 different species gathered in tiered seating that rose up like an amphitheater. Holographic displays showed real-time translations in hundreds of languages. The air smelled of a dozen different atmospheres mixing together through environmental shields. Ambassador Sora walked to the center of the chamber floor. She was younger than Ji-Won, barely 30 years old, but she carried herself with confidence. Her simple black suit contrasted with the elaborate robes and armor worn by other ambassadors. She carried no weapons, no symbols of status. She was just a human woman standing in the center of galactic power. The chamber was buzzing with noise. Everyone had heard about what happened between Earth and the Vrexian Empire. The news had spread through every corner of the galaxy in just 3 days. The species that everyone feared, the warriors who had never lost a war, had been defeated completely, and it had taken humanity less than a week to do it. The council speaker, an ancient being called a Zintian, called for order. His voice echoed through the chamber without electronic amplification. The Galactic Council recognizes Ambassador Sora of Earth. You may present your statement. Sora bowed respectfully to the speaker, then turned slowly to address the entire council. Thank you, honored speaker. Representatives of the Galactic Council, I come before you today not to boast of victory, but to explain our actions and our philosophy. A representative from the Kelthian collective interrupted. He was a tall being with blue skin and 6 eyes. Ambassador, your species has just demonstrated military capabilities far beyond what you reported during first contact. You deliberately deceived this council. How can we trust anything you say? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Sora had expected this. She nodded calmly. Representative Kelth, you raise a fair concern. Yes, Earth did not reveal our full military capabilities during first contact, but consider why we made that choice. When we first reached the stars and encountered other species, we studied galactic history. We learned about wars that destroyed entire civilizations. We saw how military power often leads to fear, and fear leads to conflict. She paused, letting her words sink in. We made a conscious decision. We would present ourselves as peaceful explorers with modest defensive capabilities. We would trade, learn, and build relationships. We would only reveal our true strength if absolutely necessary. This was not deception for conquest. This was caution for peace, another voice called out. This one belonged to Ambassador Theron of the Sivian Republic, a species known for their military traditions. But you possess weapons that could threaten any species in this council. Ships that move faster than our sensors can track. Soldiers who defeated the Vrexians in hand-to-hand combat. How long before you decide to conquer us all? Sora met his gaze directly. Ambassador Theron, humanity has a saying. We judge ourselves by our intentions, but others judge us by our actions. So let me tell you about our actions. When we defeated the Vrexian fleet, we could have destroyed every ship. We didn't. We disabled them and captured their crews. When our soldiers landed on Vrexian Prime, they could have leveled cities. Instead, they targeted only military installations and treated wounded enemies with the same care as their own injured. She walked slowly around the center floor as she spoke, making eye contact with different representatives. The Vrexian Empire attacked 3 of our colonies. They killed 400 human civilians in those attacks. Our people were angry. Our military had the capability to respond with overwhelming force. We could have turned Vrexian Prime into a lifeless rock. But we didn't. Do you know why? The chamber was silent now. Every representative was listening carefully. Because we know what war truly costs. Earth's history is full of conflicts. For thousands of years, humans fought each other. We had wars that killed millions. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire world. We came very close to making ourselves extinct several times. But we survived. And more importantly, we learned. Sora's voice became softer but more intense. We learned that victory means nothing if it creates more enemies. We learned that strength is worthless if it only brings fear. We learned that the hardest choice is not whether to fight, but whether to show mercy after you've won. These lessons cost us dearly. They were written in the blood of billions of our ancestors. She stopped walking and stood in the center again. So when the Vrexian Empire attacked us, we didn't respond with revenge. We responded with exactly enough force to end the threat. Nothing more. The Supreme Commander Taeyang is alive. The Vrexian government still exists. Their homeworld is intact. We have already begun peace negotiations, and we are offering to help them rebuild what was damaged in the conflict. A small ambassador from a species called the Prin spoke up. Her voice was high and nervous. But Ambassador Sora, if you are so powerful, why reveal it now? Why not continue hiding your strength? Sora smiled sadly. Because hiding our strength was creating danger. Other species saw us as weak. They thought they could attack us without consequence. The Vrexians proved that. By showing what we're truly capable of, we hope to prevent future conflicts. Sometimes the best way to avoid a fight is to make it clear that fighting would be a very bad idea. An elderly ambassador from the Torvian Unity stood up. His species was known for wisdom rather than warfare. Ambassador Sora, I have reviewed the battle reports from Colony 7 and the ground assault on Vrexian Prime. Your restraint was remarkable, but I must ask directly, what are the limits of human military power? What else are you capable of? Sora considered the question carefully. Ambassador Torvian, I cannot reveal all of our capabilities. No responsible government would. But I can tell you this. Everything we have shown so far was with conventional military force. We have not used any of our strategic weapons. We have not deployed our automated systems. We have not shown you our full naval capacity. What you saw was a measured response by a small portion of our military. The chamber erupted in noise again. Fear, anger, and shock mixed together as different species reacted to this information. The speaker called for order several times before the noise died down. When quiet returned, Sora continued, I tell you this not to threaten anyone. I tell you this so there are no more mistakes like the Vrexians made. Earth does not want to be a military power. We don't want other species to fear us. We want to trade, share knowledge, and build friendships, but we will not allow anyone to mistake our peaceful intentions for weakness. Ambassador Theron stood up again. His expression was thoughtful now rather than hostile. Ambassador Sora, the Civian Republic has always respected martial prowess. You have demonstrated both strength and honor. But I must know, what does Earth want from the galactic community? Sora turned to face him fully. We want what we have always wanted, Ambassador. We want to be partners, not rulers. We want to contribute to galactic civilization, not dominate it. We have technologies we're willing to share. We have art, culture, and philosophy to offer. We have made mistakes in our long history, and we're willing to share those lessons so others might avoid them. She looked around at all the assembled representatives. We also want to be respected. We want other species to understand that choosing peace is not the same as being unable to fight. We want diplomacy to be the first option because all sides know that war would be costly. That's what we tried to do by hiding our strength. That approach failed, so now we're being honest. This is what humanity is capable of. This is what we choose not to use unless forced. We hope that knowledge will make peace more attractive to everyone. The speaker spoke again. Ambassador Sora, the Council must deliberate on these matters. But I have one personal question. Your species comes from a world you call Earth. I have read the reports. Your planet has extreme weather, dangerous animals, and numerous natural disasters. How did such a dangerous world create a species so focused on peace? Sora's expression softened. Honored speaker, I think it's because of our world, not despite it. When you grow up fighting for survival every day, you learn the value of cooperation. When you've seen what nature can do, you understand that fighting each other is foolish. Earth taught us that we're stronger together than apart. It taught us that intelligence and adaptability matter more than claws or armor. She took a breath before continuing. But it also taught us that sometimes you must fight to protect what matters. That predators respect strength. That showing your teeth can prevent a fight better than hiding them. Earth made us understand both peace and war. We excel at both. We simply prefer one over the other. The speaker nodded slowly. Thank you, Ambassador Sora. The Council will consider your words carefully. This session is adjourned. As the various representatives began filing out of the chamber, many of them approached Sora. Some wanted to express support. Others wanted to discuss trade agreements. A few were clearly frightened and kept their distance. But they all looked at humanity differently now. Ambassador Theron was one of the last to approach. He bowed formally. Ambassador Sora, the Civian Republic would like to propose a cultural exchange program. We believe our species have much to learn from E-Commander Hyun, stood on the bridge of the EDS Titan, watching the main view screen as Supreme Commander Taeyang's flagship approached. It had been 2 weeks since the conflict ended. 2 weeks of negotiations, prisoner exchanges, and careful diplomacy. Now came the final step, the official surrender ceremony. Hyun had been chosen to accept the surrender because of her reputation. She was known throughout the fleet as someone who was firm but fair. She had fought in the battle at Colony 7 and personally disabled 3 Vrexian cruisers, but she had also been the first to send medical supplies to disabled enemy ships. The Vrexians respected strength, and Hyun had proven she possessed it along with honor. Her second officer, Lieutenant Jamin, spoke quietly beside her. Commander, the Vrexian flagship is requesting permission to dock. Permission granted. Full honors for their delegation. They're surrendering with dignity, so we'll receive them with respect. Jamin nodded and relayed the orders. Throughout the ship, human crew members prepared to receive the Vrexian delegation. Marines lined the corridors in dress uniforms, their weapons stored away. This was not a time for intimidation. This was a time for building a new relationship. 20 minutes later, Supreme Commander Taeyang entered the Titan's main conference room. He looked different from the arrogant warrior who had laughed at Ambassador Jiwon weeks ago. His armor was simple now, without excessive decoration. His movements were careful, almost humble. Behind him walked 5 other Vrexian officers, all looking uncomfortable in defeat. Hyun stood as they entered and bowed formally. Supreme Commander Taeyang, welcome aboard the Titan. Please be seated. Taeyang and his officers sat across the table from Hyun and her staff. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The silence was heavy with history and consequence. Finally, Taeyang spoke. His voice was quiet, lacking its former boom. Commander Hyun, I am here to formally surrender the Vrexian military forces and accept responsibility for initiating hostilities against Earth. I understand that the terms have been discussed by our diplomatic staffs. Hyun nodded. They have. Before we proceed with the formalities, Supreme Commander, I want to say something personal. May I speak freely? Taeyang looked surprised but gestured for her to continue. 2 months ago, you made a decision based on incomplete information. You believed humanity was weak because we appeared peaceful. You thought our restraint meant we were incapable. That was an understandable mistake. Many species in this galaxy equate politeness with weakness, but I want you to understand why we made the choices we did. She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth. The blue and green planet rotated slowly between them. This is our homeworld. It looks beautiful from space, doesn't it? Peaceful. But Earth is one of the most dangerous planets in known space. The weather can kill you. The animals can kill you. Even the plants can kill you. For millions of years, our ancestors struggled just to survive each day. Taeyang leaned forward slightly, studying the image. Hyun continued. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. We were slow compared to the predators that hunted us. We were weak compared to the prey we needed to hunt. By all logic, we should have gone extinct. But we didn't. Do you know why? One of Taeyang's officers, a younger warrior named Crick, spoke up. You developed tools. You used intelligence instead of strength. Hyun smiled. Partly correct. Yes, we made tools. But more importantly, we learned to work together. A single human is weak. 10 humans working together can kill a predator twice their size. 100 humans working together can build cities. 1,000,000 humans working together can reshape continents. We survived because we learned that cooperation is stronger than individual power. She changed the holographic display. Now it showed images from human history. Ancient wars, medieval battles, modern conflicts. But we also fought each other. For thousands of years, different groups of humans competed for resources. We had wars that killed millions. We developed weapons of incredible power. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. The images shifted to show mushroom clouds, ruined cities, and graveyards. Taeyang's expression was somber as he watched. Eventually, we learned. We realized that we were our own worst enemy. We created global governments, peace treaties, and systems to resolve conflicts without war. We turned our competitive nature toward productive goals. Science, art, exploration. We became civilized, but we never forgot how to fight. We couldn't afford to forget, because Earth kept trying to kill us. Hyun dismissed the holographic display and looked directly at Taeyang. When we reached the stars and met other species, we faced a choice. We could present ourselves as the warriors we're capable of being. We could dominate through force, or we could try something different. We could be the peaceful neighbors we wished we'd had during our own history. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with regret. We took that peace as an invitation to conquer. We saw your kindness as stupidity. Yes, Hyun agreed simply. You did. And we had to show you the truth. Not because we wanted to, but because you left us no choice. Supreme Commander, humanity doesn't enjoy war. Every soldier we lost, every Vrexian we killed weighs on us. We would have much preferred to remain your peaceful trading partners. Lieutenant Jaemin placed a data tablet on the table. These are the formal surrender terms, Supreme Commander. I'll summarize them for you. The Vrexian Empire will withdraw from all disputed territories. You will pay reparations for the damage caused to human colonies. Your military will be reduced to defensive forces only for a period of 10 standard years. During that time, human observers will monitor your compliance. Taeyang nodded slowly. These terms are harsh but fair. We expected worse. There's more, Hyun said. Earth is offering a partnership treaty. Once the observation period is complete, we want to establish trade relationships, cultural exchanges, and eventually a mutual defense pact. This clearly shocked Taeyang. You want to be our allies? After everything we did? Hyun leaned forward. Supreme Commander, we don't want eternal enemies. We want the Vrexian people to prosper. We want your children to grow up in a galaxy where humans and Vrexians are friends, not rivals. Yes, you attacked us. Yes, you forced us to respond with violence. But that doesn't mean we must hate you forever. She gestured to one of her officers who brought in a container. Inside were medical supplies, food packages, and reconstruction equipment. This is the first shipment of aid we're sending to Vrexian Prime. We're going to help you rebuild what was damaged in the fighting. We're going to share technology that will improve your people's lives. We're going to prove that humanity's strength is matched by our compassion. One of the Vrexian officers, an older female named Shira, spoke for the first time. Her voice was thick with emotion. Why, we attacked your people. We killed your civilians. Why would you help us? Hyun turned to her. Because we remember what it's like to lose a war. We remember the humiliation, the anger, the desire for revenge. If we treat you as enemies forever, that's all you'll ever be. But if we treat you as potential friends, maybe someday you will be. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The galaxy is a big place. There are threats out there that we don't even know about yet. Species that make both humans and Vrexians look weak. Wouldn't it be better if we faced those threats together, rather than wasting our strength fighting each other? Taeyang stood as well and joined her at the window. For the first time, he seemed to really see the human commander as more than just an enemy. Commander Hyun, I underestimated your species in every possible way. I thought you were physically weak. I was wrong. I thought you were technologically inferior. I was wrong. But most of all, I thought that showing mercy was a sign of weakness. I was very wrong about that. He turned to face her fully. I accept your surrender terms. I accept your offer of partnership. And I give you my word as a warrior that the Vrexian Empire will honor this peace. We will learn from this defeat. We will become better neighbors to all species. Hyun extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Taeyang looked at it for a moment, then carefully clasped it with his massive hand. The size difference was almost comical, but the moment was solemn. Then let us begin a new chapter, Hyun said. For both our peoples, the formal surrender was signed. The documents were witnessed by representatives from the Galactic Council, who had been invited to observe. As the ceremony concluded, something unexpected happened. The Vrexian officers, one by one, approached the human delegation and offered gestures of respect according to their own customs. Lieutenant Jaemin whispered to Hyun, Commander, I think this might actually work. Hyun smiled. It has to work, Jaemin. The alternative is continued conflict, and nobody wins from that. As the Vrexian delegation prepared to leave, Taeyang paused at the door. Commander Hyun, I have one question. When Ambassador Jiwon warned us, when she said that Earth was only being polite, she meant it literally, didn't she? Hyun nodded. She did. Every interaction we had with your empire, we were following diplomatic protocols designed to be non-threatening. We never lied, but we never volunteered information about our full capabilities either. We genuinely hoped you would accept our friendship offer. And now that the galaxy knows what you're capable,